Is traditional home buying broken in 2025? We're going to dive into how there are lots of other ways you can be buying instead of going the traditional route.
Yeah, and you know what? I see it's like I hear from so many people, it's never been harder for somebody to buy their very first house. Did you know that the average age for a first-time homeowner in the United States is 38 years old?
I
Like,
only know because you posted that on Facebook.
so it's 38 years old. So what does that mean, right? You've probably got married, maybe you've got kids, you got a family. Like, it's not as easy as it used to be. So we're going to break down how you could get houses and make them affordable even in 2025. So if you've been following real estate the last few years ago, the interest rates were really low. This created a frenzy across the country of people buying homes. Homes became more affordable because interest rates were so low. And so, what would this do? If you remember back in 2021 or 22, mostly, um, houses were selling at full asking price. So many times they were going over asking price, which was creating bidding wars. And what did this do throughout the years? It bid up the pricing of the houses. The value of houses right now is really almost at an all-time high, right? And so if I'm a first-time home buyer and I'm in my 20s or even 30s, it don't matter what age you are, but that's a really tall cost of or getting into a deal, right?
Hmm.
If it's your own primary residence, or it could be for a rental too. It's really hard right now. And then when you add up the taxes, you add up the interest rate and the insurance and the principal balance, and you put all that together, and that's going to equal your monthly payment. Right now, those are really, really high. So today we're going to talk about how you can buy real estate without having to go to the bank, without having to have huge down
And without having to
payments.
wait on the sidelines, because I think that's the number one thing I'm hearing from a lot of investors is I'm just going to wait until these rates fall. And
Mhm.
I hate to break anybody's bubble, but I don't think these rates are going down to 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 for a while.
Well, the Feds just met and they said that they're only going to maybe do no rate drop now. They have another one coming up in March that they're most likely not going to do another rate drop then either. They're predicting they might do two all of 2025, where the thought in 2024 is there's going to be many of these in 2025. And that's not really the case.
And I love to go back to your statistic too of how many homes are out there that are absolutely owned free and clear. So there's no bank even involved. There's no mortgage on this property, and you can directly go to seller
Mhm.
and negotiate terms,
Yeah. So 40% of all houses in the country are owned free and
which
clear.
blows my mind because you would almost think that there'd be less for some reason because it's like a golden egg, right? Like, oh my gosh, like I have this one special
Mhm.
property, but there's more out there. So obviously it's going to be a numbers game. So where are people going to find these sellers?
Well, they're going to be everywhere, right? So think of this: 4 out of 10 houses that you drive by, chances are owned outright. So they're in your own neighborhood. They're they're all over the country.
Mhm.
So if you're looking to buy your very first home, or if you're looking to buy your very first rental property, my favorite strategy is doing owner financing with free and clear properties. One of the easiest deals you could really get into of all of real estate, as far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
because if you think about it, this method has been going on for centuries.
Mhm.
If I wanted to buy something for you from you, sometimes I could give you the money in payments. Something so simple. It could have been a horse
Mhm.
back in the day, right? It could have been a car. It could be whatever. It could be even a house. I didn't even think of this up until like, 2016. I'm like,
Mhm.
wait a minute, you can
You
do
can
that
make monthly payments to a seller.
even on a house, right? I was like, holy cow. And I was somebody who's in the car business forever where I see
Mhm.
people making monthly payments, but it was to banks. And this is what we all thought. You got to
Yeah.
pay banks. You don't. If somebody wants to sell me the property, they go from being the owner to now I make them the bank and I'm paying them a monthly payment based on what they sold me. So you go from having to own it to now a bank. That transitioned a lot of people like that. So if you're looking for your very first house, whether it's a primary residence, and I've got a lot of clients in our group who have done this. I've got some of our friends who've done this, finding these free and clear properties, right? Whether it's a rental or your own personal house, find the free and clear, right? Free and clear properties. So how can I do that? You can get certain services, even like PropStream, for an example. So I use PropStream, which is a service. It's like Zillow, only jacked up. And this, I could actually make a list. So if I'm looking in Monroe County, New York, because that's where we're originally from, I could type in Monroe County and it'll show me how many thousands of houses are in Monroe County. I could click on single family. I could click on free and clear. Here's a list of all of the free and clear properties that are in Monroe County that now I have access to. And I could either mail them a letter, some of these people that you can call, because you can skip trace, even go to truepeoplesearch.com, put in the address, and you can find the people's phone number and call them and see if they would be open to getting an offer on a property. The first one, if you think about when we did our very first owner finance deal on a free and clear property, the list that we used back then was free and clear property with the owner was an absentee owner. So the owner didn't live in the house. And the way that we found this out was because the tax bill gets mailed somewhere else. And that's generally where that person lives. So absentee owner, free and clear property. What we did is we just mailed them a simple letter that says, my name is Joe and my wife is Jen, and we're interested in buying your house at Hamden Boulevard. Or what was that? Haddon, sorry. On Haddon. And the owner reached out and said, I would love to do this. He named his price. The house is turnkey. I said, I could do that if you're open to doing it in payments. And he said, that'd be fine. I said, well, if I do this, I typically put no money down because I'm going to cover all the closing costs. And he said, that's fine. Easy. I thought like, wow. When we talked about a payment, I said, well, if I pay the tax and insurance, I'm going to pay you $500 a month. He's like, that's fine. Because he was thrilled. He didn't get some lowball offer. He got his price. And then when I told him that's going to go towards what I owe you every year, so that's $6,000 per year coming off of my balance, he said, that's fine. So he agreed to doing a $100 down deal, no interest even, and on a turnkey house in a nice neighborhood at the end of a dead end street next to a school. So we were thrilled on that deal.
So 40% are going to be like that. So you have to go maybe pull a list, you're driving for dollars, you're posting on Facebook. So 40% of these people that have a house, it's going to be free and clear. So out of there, you have to kind of just figure out who would be open to seller financing, who's a motivated seller. So that leaves the rest of them with mortgages.
Yes. So what about the other 60%, Joe? Right? Well, the other 60% of the people, they have a mortgage on their house. And then the second strategy I had learned, the first one really being the owner financing, free and clear properties, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But then when I found out that I can actually buy a house, but the loan stays in the seller's name, this blew my mind. I was in the car business, and you can't do that with a car, right?
You can, but you don't recommend it.
No, you can't really. It's bad. Like, don't. But with a house, you actually can do that because the deed, right, and the mortgage are completely separate. So once I found this out, if you think about the seller who reached out to us, she had a house that she lived in. She met a guy, got married, moved in with him, had kids, was renting out the old house. Tenants moved out legitly in the middle of the night. It was like one of those things, right? U-Haul truck parks up, pulls up, it's dark. They're loading all in, drive off. The neighbor told us. And so she didn't want to have to go through that again. She's like, I'm not a landlord. I run a business. I am too busy to be managing tenants and toilets. I want this place sold. So here I was hoping it was a free and clear property, but she had a mortgage. So once I explained to her that I could buy it, and I'm just going to pay her lender directly every month, so the loan will stay in her name. I'm not assuming it. I don't have to get a credit check, but I could buy it this way. And she said, that is fine. As long as you're going to buy this place and I don't have to worry about getting this house back, I don't care what you're going to do. She was motivated, right? And probably a little bit shocked or felt bad about the situation with the renters moving out. And whatever that experience was, she did not want to do that ever again. So she was like, as long as you promise I'm never going to get this house back, I'll do it. I said, no problem. So I bought that property. We put $100 down. We paid the closing cost, which is maybe $4,000, $3,000. Then we bought the house. We owned it, right? And then do you know her bank? PennyMac. So all we did is we just set up payments to pay PennyMac directly. So these are two great examples in New York, upstate New York, and the suburbs of Rochester, where both of these properties, we were able to buy one free and clear, $100 down, and we just discussed what the payments were. He agreed, we agreed, close on that, right?
And if I'm going to give like a little golden nugget, so there was a big lesson I learned on that first deal when we took over mortgage payments was that the payment could change. So if you do this strategy of taking over mortgage payments, make sure that you are checking every month to see that your payment going to the bank is the same that the bank needs. Because I do remember that the escrow changed or something. So it was
Mhm.
off by pennies, literally penny mac. And so they don't take your payment basically. So that was a lesson learned. So again, we always talk about messy, massive action. We had the right paperwork. We did the deal great, but there's little lessons along the way that if you can write that down in your notebook, guys, if you're listening, when you take over a payment, keep an eye on that monthly payment every single month.
And that's if you buy your own house through a bank
Well,
too,
yeah.
like your own financing. I know when I bought my first house and I did bank financing, the traditional method, I got my house, I got the payment, life was good. And then like a year later, something with escrow, whatever, my payment went up. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's not a
Right.
set it and forget it. Like when you're paying a
Yeah.
rent amount and you're renting something, that's just is what it is. Like your renter is paying the monthly rent every month. But bank mortgages can change and often will change. They'll go up, down. So
You could have an increase in your insurance costs per year. You could have
mhm.
increase in property taxes, right? There's many different things that could make that change. So you're right. Verify the monthly payment. Make sure you're doing that on time. But we're thinking of like how can we buy future houses like this in
Mhm.
2025? This is the strategy that I would be doing.
Yep.
I'm in my Bigger Pockets group on Facebook, and everybody's like, I can't find any deals out there right now. I can't tell you how many hundreds of comments were on this one post. And everybody's like, I'm on the sidelines. I'm just waiting. I can't find deals that cash flow. I can't find a good deal for a house for me to live in because the payment is much higher than what I could rent the house down the road for. So it's really causing a lot of challenges in this
Mhm.
marketplace. So if you're looking to buy more rental properties, or if you're looking to buy your first home, these are the two strategies that I would really be going deep into right now. Right. And this is where I'm going to be attracting these people. We talk about how to get off market leads for free on Facebook. That's probably one of the easiest ways to do it. So if I want to move to Boca Raton, Florida, I would join all of the Facebook groups in Boca Raton, Florida. I would make post in these groups that says, does anyone have a house for sale that's not market ready? My wife and I are looking to buy one in the next 2 to 3 months. And I would post that into every single Facebook group in Boca Raton, Florida there was. And I would do that probably in each group once a month. And this way, I'm going to have people reaching out to me for free who have a property they want to sell. And now we're having these conversations. Here is the other interesting thing. Out of all those people that have a mortgage on their house, 67% of those people have an interest rate under 4%. So when we're doing some of these deals, even currently right now, we're still finding sellers who have a 2 point something rate, a 3 point something rate. They're highly motivated. They need to sell. Maybe it's not selling in the market. Maybe they don't even want to, and they just need a quick sale. And where we could still secure that property with only $100 down, we could buy it and we could take over that existing mortgage at a 2.8 rate, 2.75 rate, things like that, to where now I have an actual low payment that's affordable. I didn't have to go through the bank process and all of this. So these are the strategies for 2025. If you're going to look for cash flowing properties, guys, the feds aren't going to come lower rates in the hopes that we all were hoping for. That's going to make this market take off and really start getting things sprung. But the way that we buy, the strategies that we're talking about today, interest rates are always low if you're talking to motivated sellers and doing terms. So this is going to be the strategy that we're going to really dive deep into in 2025 and really just start focusing on that.
So until next time, make sure that you subscribe. And if you have any comments below, make sure you ask your questions and we'll make sure we answer them.